Ooh, hang on, sorry. Alright, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to, I don't know what the segment's called. If you have any ideas, can you please put in the comments below what to call this Monday night live stream. I really don't have much of a clue, and any input would be really good. Best title might actually get something in return, maybe a hoodie or something like that. So tonight, tonight I wanted to talk about squatting. Whether squatting below parallel, is it worth it? What are the returns from training? Should you even be doing it? Should you be doing something else, some sort of variation? And the short answer is it all depends. It all depends what you're trying to really aim for when it comes to training and the outcomes you're looking to achieve. A lot of people have this issue of being able to just squat normally. So just teaching them to squat to a certain height without using their lower back or get any form of butt wink, where their kind of pelvis tucks under and they get like a rounding through their back. The first thing it might be to do is just to make them mobile in that regard, and just to get them working lower and lower so they can actually start to move through the hips more effectively. Reason why I teach people to squat below parallel, and there's a different context to this as well. So if I'm working with an athlete, I'll get them squatting below parallel or working towards below parallel if they don't have the mobility and the stability for it. Reason being is it has multiple benefits long terms in terms of hip health, hip mobility, but also gives them a bit more strength more long term. What I want kind of say to that is, when you squat below parallel, you have a greater recruitment of more musculature. Going through a greater range of motion, more musculature is going to be recruited. The catch-22 of that is you're not going to be able to move as much weight. We can move more weight over a shorter distance if we're just doing a quarter squat or a half squat than versus a parallel or below parallel. Parallel is considered in some textbooks is when the knee and the hip are in line. Below parallel is when the hip is actually below the knee in that regard. So I always teach in terms of longevity in the gym, teaching someone to squat below parallel, because eventually they will get into a position or I guess what I'm trying to say is, when they get into a position where it's quite awkward and where they're quite hunched over, that at the end of the day they end up compensating somewhere else. It's for injury prevention, a greater activation of stabilizers when you do go into a deeper squat. This does have somewhat of a carryover effect to other movements like a lunge or Bulgarian split squat, where you can actually get a greater range of motion with those movements. Squatting, I guess, bringing back to context, I had a really good question saying, not Tom Platz, a famous Australian bodybuilder, totally forgot his name, never squatted below parallel. I'm like, okay, that's cool. His goal was probably just to build his quads. You get a greater quad activation, keeping the movement above parallel, and enables him to load up on the movement a lot more. And that's totally fine. It all depends on the context of what you're doing. Then kind of good way to use squats at parallel or above parallel is actually more pre-season, in-season, when movement starts to become a little bit more specific. So for basketball, in basketball, you're never really squatting below parallel. There's kind of no point trying to get someone to squat heavy and go below parallel. There's no point. There's no real carryover. What you want to do is improve jump performance, where you might actually just get them doing a half to a quarter squat instead. And this kind of mimics a jump. So you're basically going to high force, low velocity with a back squat, a front squat, even a trap bar deadlift or something of that nature. I usually kind of going back to where to use or get someone to squat below parallel is to someone who has really shoddy movement mechanics. So I always try and work them towards below parallel and get them comfortable and get them breathing in that position so they can actually brace and be able to move effectively through their hips. Then later on down the track, if it's necessary, go get them squatting above parallel, but it depends what the goal is. But if I'm working general population, I'll always get them aiming towards squatting below parallel. I think there should be the basically general goal for everyone who's within that general population, not training for anything specific, is to squat below parallel. A lot of people who do try to squat low don't squat low well. Their pelvis tucks under, knees buckle in, and this is where they're trying to squat lower, but they're not squatting low well. And it's basically instability. So when you start giving them more weight, they just kind of crumble in and just really can't support themselves. So teaching someone to squat below parallel in a safe manner and doing it over time and loading them up progressively will allow them to basically carry that later on into their training. I know with my personal battles, I've had issues squatting below parallel. I've got hip impingement. I think being able to work myself to squat below parallel has allowed me to basically squat pain-free, to be able to run pain-free. I'm not much of a runner, by the way, but if I wanted to, I could, go for a KL2 run if I really wanted to, without getting pain in my hip or anything like that. So I always teach people to squat below parallel, doing it well. There's lots of squat tutorial videos out online, but always suggest squatting below parallel. It always depends on the context, but majority of people should be squatting below parallel or working towards squatting below parallel and squatting well and be able to breathe in that bottom position. That's it for tonight, or that's it. Till next week. Next week I might be running a little bit behind. Got a little bit presentation with AFL Victoria, presenting on injury prevention for female footballers, which I'm really looking forward to. And yeah, something drops. See you next week. Peace. Oh, put your name of the segment down below. So I want to call it something. Any feedback would be great. Peace.